Hello, YouTube family. It's Zan Harold here. Thanking God for allowing me and you to see another day. How's everybody doing out there? It's nice to be able to come back again and give you some of my survival commentary because we know it's much needed these days and times, and it's quite necessary. So today we're going to talk about what we all should be doing before the elections. We know we have the elections coming up, and with 2020, it's been, I want to say, episode after episode, incident after incident. It's just been ongoing, non-stop. So the best thing as preppers for us to do is to be prepared. I've written a list of things that I would like to suggest. And you guys, if I'm missing anything and that you're aware of, that you can also help the community, the prepper community, please leave it in the comments because I'm still learning as well. And we can learn from one another because we all need each other in these days and times. Okay, so number one, if you can, get out of the cities. You guys, I cannot stress this enough. Now, you might not be able to get out of the cities, and we're going to speak about that as well. So if you're able to get out of the cities, if you're already out of the cities, you're probably okay if you're in the country or you're outside of the cities in the rural area. The cities are a mess right now. They're having all these riots, all this looting, all this violence, all this crime, because we know at the beginning of this pandemic, a lot of people started getting sick last year. They said the first case was at the end of February, 1st of March. No. People started getting sick with the coronavirus in the United States last year. I have friends and relatives who got sick. Of course, we didn't know it was the coronavirus, but we knew it was something worse than the flu. Because when they started speaking about the symptoms, everybody was like, oh, that's what that was. Craziness. So apparently a lot of those people in Wuhan, they were fleeing the country. When they started becoming aware, they were celebrating the Chinese Lunar New Year out there. And when they became aware of all those people getting sick and people dying, and I think right before they locked down, what they call it, the Providence, that area, people with money, because you know you got to have money to be flying out of there, they got out of there. They got out of there and they went all around the world, all over. So that's how everybody else ended up getting it. And unfortunately, a lot of countries like the United States and others are still suffering from that. So I say get out of the cities also because you guys in Houston, not even just this year, there was what do you call it? Chemical explosions in certain neighborhoods. And when I tell you those people had to get out of those neighborhoods, and the chemicals were so bad, some people end up dying, some people end up getting severely sick, because we know that there's all types of companies, and especially here in Texas, oil companies, refineries. You have the ship channel, you have all these different things, these different industries that let off all this pollution in the air. And so that, for one, is not good. It's terrible. On top of that, in the midst of a pandemic, it's awful. Then we're not even talking about the water in the cities. During this time when they had that chemical explosion, they cut off the water. We didn't have any water. They were saying boil the water. Don't drink the water. Don't use the water for food, for cooking. Don't bathe in the water. Don't take showers in the water. You guys, I do not fool with tap water. Because like I said, being a Houstonian, a native Houstonian, we have experienced so many storms, so many floods, so many tornadoes, so many hurricanes. And that's another thing that's affected immediately. Along with losing all your stuff, and some of us, our minds as well, is the water. The water supplies in the city is terrible. Most of the time in the country, in the rural areas, they're not servicing a lot of people. Most people in the countries have a well, or even if they're using city water, it's not as bad and contaminated as the city water. It's not as bad as contaminated as big city water. The crime. The violence in the city, as you guys can see it has increased. Even the police officers and the constables and sheriffs and the police chiefs are coming out and they're stating how bad it is. It's never been this way. A young lady lost her life the other day, unfortunately, and my prayers go out to her and her family here in Houston. Somebody came on in a drive-by. I think they were trying to get somebody else in her family, shot in her home. And they had a brick house. And the bullets went through her room. And unfortunately, she's not here anymore. The day after that, 2 days after that, the father-in-law killed her grandfather, killed her father. So in a city, it's just crime after crime, craziness after craziness. And a lot of these city officials, they're not great leaders. They'll tell you and suggest things and tell you to do things that we know just doesn't seem right. I remember during Harvey, the governor was telling us in Texas, he said, if you can't get out of Houston, I suggest you get out of Houston for a couple of weeks. And then we had the mayor say, no, we're going to ride it out. Everybody just stay in Houston. We don't need bumper-to-bumper traffic going out 45 north trying to get out of Houston. And my gut instinct told me to get out of Houston. And I say that people who could have gotten out should have gotten out, especially when you have sick loved ones like myself. Some people have sick loved ones and they're people on oxygen. They need electricity. The electricity was out in Houston for weeks on end. Some people have loved ones and they need medical care, maybe on dialysis or something like that. And you need electricity for these things. And in the city, the grid can just go down. You guys, I'm expecting, it might come before the elections, it might come after the elections. Hopefully it does not come, for a whole grid down situation. Are you prepared? Or we prepared as a prepping community? Are we prepared, period? You know, we have to look out for each other these days. So being in the city and these types of things occurring, this is the last place that we want to be. Honestly, if you cannot afford to leave the city, if you don't have family members that you might be close with that live out in the country, that live out the city, I suggest, first of all, if you can, try to start getting in touch with these people. But if not, if that doesn't work,